Welcome back to Grade 8 Geography, Unit Number 2, Global Inequalities, Economic Development, and Quality of Life. This is lesson number 19A. How does population growth affect quality of life? And there is a 19B video which you are going to watch right after this video. Before we begin today's lesson, let's consider the following. Have you ever seen any movies or TV shows that showed a population that was too big or too small? What issues did the population face? Certainly, if you're a sci-fi fan, you've seen at least one TV show or movie where the main issue has been overpopulation or underpopulation. Quality of life is affected by the population growth rate. Knowing about population patterns and trends can help us answer some important questions about our country. Are we growing? Can we keep our quality of life consistent even if the population changes? Populations grow in size when the birth rate is higher than the death rate. Some countries have much higher birth rates than others. Developing countries tend to have larger families than in developed countries. As you can see from the world map, the developing countries are shaded in yellow, orange, red, meaning they have a much higher birth rate compared to countries like Canada, the United States, Russia, Scandinavian countries. So these developing countries have growing populations. A growing population creates challenges for its government. The government struggles to provide basic services to all of its citizens. People face serious issues such as a lack of clean water, lack of education, inadequate housing, and serious air pollution. Populations grow at different rates during different stages of economic development. More developed countries have highly diversified economies. They offer well-developed government services. These countries have a low birth rate and a low death rate since people are more focused on their careers and having large families, and they have access to very good health care. We can see this in the countries that are colored in green. So they don't have a high number of births each year, but at the same time, they don't have a high number of people dying. So their populations actually stay fairly consistent. Developing countries have economies that are growing. They offer some government services. These countries have a high birth rate and a falling death rate, as families are large, but there is some access to health care services. And we can see examples of this in the countries that are shaded in blue. Least developed countries have traditional economies that are focused on primary industries like farming. They offer few government services. In these countries, the birth rate and death rate are both very high, as families are very large, but there is very little health care, so people live much shorter lives. So much so that in some countries, the population actually threatens to shrink as more people are dying than are being born. When studying a country's population, geographers are interested in the age distribution. Understanding how young or old the population is helps geographers understand the issues that the country faces or will face. For example, if the majority of the population is older, there are fewer younger working people who can pay taxes, which go toward social services, such as pension, healthcare, and nursing homes. If the population is very young, there may not be enough services available for all children, such as daycare and education. Population growth can be so rapid or so slow that governments need to take measures to control population growth. Countries such as Iran, South Korea, and China have enacted policies to slow down their population's growth. In 1979, the Chinese government introduced its one-child policy. This policy rewarded families that commit to having only one child and imposed penalties, taxes, for families that had more than one child. This policy was very controversial, as people argued that this violated human rights. Also, since traditional families preferred boys, many baby girls were abandoned or left at drop-off centers since orphanages became overcrowded. Government policies can be introduced or changed to speed up the population's growth. Recently, the Chinese government became concerned with its aging, declining population. In 2014, the one-child policy was changed to allow a couple to have more than one child, so long as the parents were as so long as one of the parents was an only child. There are other strategies that governments can use to lower and or maintain birth rates. They can increase the amount of education that is available. Education is made available for girls and women so that they can get and keep a job. More economic and gender equality. Women are encouraged to have a job and to make more decision-making power in their family and community. More family planning. Access to family planning services is made available so that families can better control the number of children they have. Well, there is no homework associated with this first part of lesson number 19. There aren't even any discussion questions for you to consider at the end of this video. However, you need to head on back to YouTube for the video for lesson number 19b. In this lesson, you will learn how to read and draw a population pyramid. You will also learn how to make important observations and conclusions about the population pyramids that you read and draw. So this concludes lesson number 19A. Please head back to YouTube and watch the video for lesson number 19B.